go. That's as far as I can go. Riedel, you want to know when Thamba last ate? Well, as far as I know, not last night, the night before, because he had a big bulging tummy when we found him yesterday morning, and he had that innards in his mouth from the tree, and there was hyena activity, so I think it was the night before. He's certainly in no way looking skinny or like he doesn't need a meal, but he must be getting tired of us. We keep finding him in I hope that he's not getting tired of us. He certainly doesn't seem. He's just kind of non-phased by the fact that we found him again. So busy catching flies as per his routine yesterday afternoon. But I'm certainly glad to see that he stayed out of the way of the big Birmingham boy who must have wandered down from where the Styx Pride is, if it is in Suku. So I'm glad that he is actually okay and all is good. And you can see he's just in the shade resting on the banks, which is what I expected from him. What are you playing with there? What have you got? It looks like he's got something that he's busy playing with. Is it a ball of elephant dung or a tortoise?
A tortoise, I think.
Is it a tortoise? He's got himself something, maybe a terrapin. I don't know, what have you got there? So talking about food, he's definitely got himself something that he's chewing on. It looks like a shell of something. You see it's quite hard. Tortoise is what I reckon.
Yes.
Now, a tortoise at this time of the year, how have you found that, young man? But it just goes to show you, we were talking about it at length this morning and yesterday afternoon. Oh, listen to him crunching. It's an old tortoise though by the looks of it. It doesn't look as though there's too much meat inside there. But he's doing some damage to that carapace already. He's broken it and he's managed to open the shell out. Listen to that crunching. There's no legs or anything there. It looks quite old, so maybe it's just the smell more than anything else that is making him go for it. Or he's already pulled out bits of legs and things, and now he's just trying to crunch open the rest of this and get into that area. Taylor McCurdy, who is full of chirps because she's obviously had a nice break, she says she thinks Thamba doesn't prefer fast food then. Well, no, Taylor, I don't think so, because it's going to take him a while. He also certainly doesn't seem to prefer fresh food, because that must be old. There's no meat that I can see anywhere on that tortoise, and the way he's crunching through it, it almost looks as though there's nothing inside there. You can see there's no sign of any meat or blood or anything, even though he's crunching that skull. If that was a fresh tortoise, there would be sinew, there would be a bit of stuff coming out, and there's nothing that I can see. Are you happy about your tortoise, young man? Justin, you're wondering about what exactly Thamba's whiskers are used for. Well, whiskers in general on any of the cats, not just Thamba, are vitally important as a sensory organ for these animals. So basically what happens is they will pick up little vibrations and they'll pick up little changes, and they'll be able to determine what's going on around them. So in the darkness of night, or in an area when they've got their heads down and they're not able to see over the grass, the movement of animals will be picked up via those whiskers. So it's a sensory organ, much like the eyes and the ears and the nose. It forms just as much a part of it as any of the other things. So that's why they have them, and you'll find they're vitally important. And in the cats that are active at night, so lion and leopard in particular, look at how long the whiskers are. Very, very long whiskers, just to help them feel around as they go when they potentially can't see if they're hunting, and they can then detect prey items close to them. So very important that they have whiskers. And funny enough, I've actually seen a leopard that got caught in a fire. Now, she was absolutely fine. There was no problem with her. In fact, she was then named after fire in Zilo, and she's a female down in the south of the Sabi Sands, and she got caught going and investigating in a fire, and she burnt all her whiskers off. So at one point, she had no whiskers whatsoever. Luckily, she was still a dependent with her mom at that stage, but it was quite odd to see a leopard without whiskers. You take it for granted when you look at them, because you think, well, you don't just kind of overlook it because all cats have whiskers. But when they don't have, it is quite entertaining not to see. Wait, what has he got there now? Has he got a big piece of it coming out? Seems as though he's managed to crack through it. Now, I know a lot of you were wondering about whether he's got a cracked canine. Well, I'm not sure if he does have a cracked canine. He certainly, if he does, wrenching open tortoise skulls and the likes are not going to be easy on those teeth. And so I doubt that he does, because it would have further sort of crack and open up that tooth. So I think that at this stage it's probably fine. It might just be a line on the tooth. You sometimes do see it every now and then. There's a little sort of hairline crack, and later in life it might cause a problem, but his teeth look fairly healthy to me. They're bright white still and seem as though he's got massive amounts of power. Look at that. Look at how he's just crunched that shell open. Are you having fun? Where did you find this is my next question, because at this time of the year most of the tortoises are in a state of estivation. So they're either dug themselves down somewhere, or they're in a thicket somewhere where they're trying to stay out of the cooler weather and trying not to move around, because it's also very dry. They don't want to utilize too much moisture. So the only thing that I can think is it's either a tortoise that died a while ago and it's still got a bit of scent to it and that's why he's messing around, or with this warmer weather a tortoise was moving around and he managed to find it, and that's what he's got himself and is busy sort of looking at and playing around with. Yeah, that is old. We can see there's not much meat inside. In fact, there's no meat inside there. And Riedel, you want to know when the leopards lose their baby teeth? Well, with Thamba, we saw him losing his baby teeth when he was about 8 months old. That's when he started to lose his baby teeth. The proper ones came through and his old ones disappeared. So at about 8 months old is the right sort of age for them to use them, and that's as they shift more from a milk. This is certainly, it's not a fresh kill. I think that this has been dead for a little bit of time, but it still looks as though there's a bit of meat inside there. So I don't know, it's an interesting one. It's a bit of a mystery as to where this would have come from. In summer months it would have been an easy one to work out, but now in winter not so much, because the flesh inside still looks as though it's a little bit pinky white. You can see just through there's a little bit of pink white flesh in there, which would not be that color if this was killed in the summer months. It would be black and dry and all of that. So he's now got his muzzle right inside there. Anyway, I hope he's having fun. Now, while I sit with him and enjoy him snacking on his crunchy little afternoon tea, let's go back across to Taylor and her. I think she's still with the big male line. Well, maybe not, I'm not sure, but I'm sure she will update you as to what her plans are and where she's off to. It all apart, and we had a really good look at it. He picked it up, and it certainly is quite fresh. There is definitely, he's eaten it over the last little bit, and I have a theory that yesterday afternoon when we saw him, I was commenting that it looked as though he possibly had something to eat yesterday during the day, because his tummy was fuller than what I thought it would be by that time of the day. And I think maybe he killed this yesterday afternoon, went to Twin Dams for water, and then yesterday he slowly meandered back, and now this afternoon he's found it again and is playing around. That's what my theory is, because the meat inside there is still quite pink, so I would imagine it's from yesterday's meal. But there it is, he's discarded it. What have you got there now? You've got a bit of a leg or something that he's busy clawing at. What are you playing with? Now, unfortunately, I can't really go any further forward. I'm already lodged on a stump, so it's going to be interesting to try actually get out of here. So let's just see where he goes. No, he's decided back to the carapace we're going, or to the plastron. One of the two. Depends on which side it is. There we go. Justin, you're wondering if tortoise jerky is any good. Well, Justin, I can honestly say I've never had it, but if you're a leopard, apparently it is very tasty. It seems as though he's enjoying his little snack and enjoying eating it. You can see, look there, look how red and pink that meat is. So I'm sure that he's had something. Now the francolins behind me are still complaining bitterly. So I don't know. I wonder if maybe Tundi's not coming back here. I hope it's not the sticks that have moved closer with the crunching on this tortoise shell, but it certainly is some francolins behind me that are not impressed at all. And they can't see little Thamba from where they are. It must be another animal that's moving there. It's not like they're going crazy, so it could be. You can see, look how he's looked over his shoulder now. Yes, you need to be careful today because with this wind blowing, his hearing is going to be severely compromised. He's going to have bushes moving and grass moving, and he's not going to be able to hear things walking as easily. So he needs to keep his wits about him while he's feeding off this, and particularly tortoise shells because they make a lot of noise when being fed upon. I think he's lucky that the wind is blowing the right direction, that it's blowing from where the sticks are to him rather than the opposite way around, much like what we saw this morning. In fact, it's actually blowing more in a northerly direction than anything else. Dennis, you want to know if leopards can hunt big animals? Well, most certainly, Dennis. The largest animal that I've personally seen was a 2-year-old giraffe that was killed by Tingana and Moya. So they were mating together and they managed to bring down a giraffe that was about 2 years old. So that is a really large animal. And I've seen photographs of leopard bringing down baby elephants and baby rhinos as well, and baby hippos. So leopards most certainly do go after large animals. But you can see now why we're saying that that is fresh. There's actually bits of sinew there over his paw and bits of redness. So definitely not an old carcass at all. Now I'm going to sit with Thamba and see what he gets up to, because as we know with him, he's not a boy that sits for too long. He moves around all over the show. So we're going to stay with him and see if maybe once he's had his tortoise, he decides to move off and go and find something else. And while we do that, let's go back to Taylor, who's still probably enjoying the fact that she's back in the reserve and looking at lions rather than the afternoon traffic of Joburg. Well, Taylor, I didn't hear Wendy's meltdown from here. It's so windy where we are and sheltered that we couldn't hear it, but little Thamba didn't hear it as well. He's just been rooting about. We found where he killed his tortoise and found another piece. It was a massive leopard tortoise that he must have killed, so he's done quite well with that. And now he's just being Thamba. He's busy checking around, looking around as he does. Seb, I think I'm going to reposition you slightly because I think we're going to have a much better gap from below. He's looking that way anyway, so we might as well just drop down into the drainage part again and be able to see him fairly nicely, then sitting up on the top here where we can't see as nicely at all. So let's quickly... Oh, look how nice this is. He's just sitting perfectly, Seb. There we go. Exquisite Bliss, you want to know if Thamba's a loner? Well, no, he's not a loner. He's just unfortunately a young male. He's a young male, unfortunately, that has a mom that is moving around a lot. She's territorial, and he's quite big, which means that he eats a lot. And so it means that poor Thandi has got to do a lot of hunting to be able to feed this large chap. And that means that she spends a lot of time away from him. But he's not a loner. And fortunately for him also is that his litter mate died. She was unfortunately killed by something, we don't know what. And so it was just him by himself. So he's now on his own and he has to live life by himself and keep himself entertained while mom is off hunting. And it seems as though she keeps coming back late at night when we're not around, because every morning we come here, her tracks are all over the place, but no sign of her. So maybe this afternoon we break our luck a little bit and we'll get to see mom joining again and coming and rescuing her little son and coming and spending some time with him. But the bond between the two of them is going to start breaking, and he will start to become more and more on his own. Tom Letter, you are a new viewer and welcome to Safari Live and to the large family that is Safari Live and the largest vehicle, or safari vehicle in the world. Now, I hope you're enjoying it so far, and you say that leopards have a good life. Well, for the most part, yes. It's also a very tough life, though. You'll find with these guys, they unfortunately have to survive is not easy. What have you just gotten your... I don't know what just happened, but he just got an absolute fright. I think it was this Franklin walking right here. So this little Franklin coming down the bank rustled, and he got an absolute fright and went bolting off. Thamba, you're not supposed to be scared of Franklins. They are not going to harm you, little one. So I was saying that they do have a tough life. Sometimes you can see why. Even the Franklins play practical jokes. Now, we're going to quickly jump across to Taylor because I believe she's got the lions and they're going to cross south. Well, Taylor, I would imagine that you're going to have a tough time with the navigating of wind because it is howling. And you can see our little boy is now in a thicket. He's decided to rest nicely just in that little gap there. And it's not very easy for us to get anywhere close by at this stage. It's unfortunately quite dense where he's lying. And so we're just going to let him sit there and groom himself. Also, what you'll find with him is that, as we've seen this afternoon already, he's a busy little leopard. He doesn't sit still for long, and we've noticed that over the last few days. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be up and moving and exploring, and I'm just super glad that the Styx Pride and as well as the Birmingham have moved the opposite direction to the way that he is. It means that he doesn't have to stress nearly as much now, and he's able to then spend time relaxing here and wait. I have no idea where those other cubs must be, and it's a little concerning because at the end of the day, we know that they shared a carcass with a male lion that was not the father of those cubs. And since that day, I don't know if anybody's actually seen all the cubs. I've tried to send some messages to the guys that traverse south of us, and they basically asked them how many cubs they've seen since they returned back from Mala Mala, but I haven't received an answer yet because it seems really odd to me that these lions are moving around and are not trying to contact call those cubs, unless they've left them somewhere. But it would make no sense that one cub is tagging along and the rest are still behind somewhere. So I'm a bit worried as to where the rest could be. Maybe they're just hiding and they've left them somewhere and they just didn't feel like following, and one cub was a bit naughty and followed on. I'm not sure, but it's certainly an interesting situation, and I'm surprised also that Nsuku has left those females during the day today. I would have thought that he would have stuck quite close by to them. I suppose it's not going to be difficult to find the lionesses. As soon as there's a bit of a roar or a bit of contact calling, he can hear them and make his way straight there. What have you seen now? Looks like he spotted some... So Tula Ann, who is 5 years old, hello Tula Ann, I hope you're having a nice day. You say, does Thamba like to play with other animals? Because he's a silly goose. He is a bit of a silly goose sometimes. He does like to interact with other animals. We've seen him running away from francolins and staring at francolins, and yesterday he was trying to stalk them but didn't do very well. And we've seen him looking and watching everything, even the leaves rustling. This morning he was playing with the spider web. So he is a playful character, and it seems as though he does like to go after the other friends. Now, I believe Taylor has something to show us, so let's quickly jump across to her. Well, he's highly entertaining because while he's hidden behind some thick vegetation, you can see he's watching. There's a Burchell's kukkel that's above him, jumping around. So for those of you who don't know what a Burchell's kukkel is, it's a bird, but it's in the top of that tree, so it's about there somewhere, Seb. So it's bouncing around and it's keeping Thamba highly entertained. You can just see its tail every now and then somewhere there, Seb. I saw it bouncing around, maybe a little higher, go up a bit. There it is, yeah, there. So you can see it's moving around, and that's causing Thamba to watch above him with this look of anguish as though he wants to go and play with his friend up in the tree, but he's just too lazy to actually get up there and go and get to where the Burchell's kukkel is. So it's quite fun just to watch him as he goes along and watches and tries his very best not to give himself away. He's also had a bit of a to see what's going on above him. Longing, I suppose, is the best way. Cindy, you're a new viewer and you say, wow. Well, Cindy, you've tuned into an absolutely fabulous afternoon. We've had the most fun this afternoon already. We've had lions and we've got leopard, and it's all just happening. So I'm glad that you've tuned in, and I hope that you're enjoying it so far. And given the statement that you've made, I would believe that you are. Now, interestingly enough, that bird that we showed you just now, which has disappeared a little bit, is actually a bird that is indicative of rain. So it's a bio-indicator for us out here. It means that if that bird is calling, rain potentially is coming. And I've been listening very carefully to try to see if it is calling, because this cold front theoretically is supposed to be blown in, and that theoretically is going to mean rain might come. But that bird is quiet, so hopefully that means no rain for us for now. Sinak, you're asking, is the Burchell's kukkel related to... I didn't get the first part of the name, but I think you said cuckoos. No, it's not. It's not a cuckoo. It's a kukul. So C-O-U-C-A-L, kukul. It's not a cuckoo, so not the same bird species at all. And they do not rob nests and parasitize other birds like cuckoos do. So it's called a kukul, not a cuckoo. Oh, you are a busy cat. You don't sit still for more than 2 minutes. There we go. Up again. Now you're going to go up into your tree. Your bird has flown away long ago. He's such a funny cat, this. Now there's another bird that's sitting nicely out in the open while Thamba, we're going to reposition now to try and get a better view of him. But there's a grey go-away bird that is way up, Seb. You're going to have to shift to the left. There he is. So up at the top there, sitting in the most beautiful light, is our grey go-away bird. There we are. You can see trying to balance in the wind. These guys, how's that for a bit of a yoga pose? In the wind, one-legged, while scratching your head. Try that at home. I think even the best of yoga instructors would battle with that one on a windy branch. And so he's having a good groom. Now, the grey go-away bird, as the name suggests, when it calls will say go away. That's what its call is. So it basically tells everybody that when they see something, they make that call and tell everyone to go away and to be sure that there is a predator around. So if that grey go-away bird spots Thamba, we'll hear it complaining quite a bit, although it's now flying away. So off it goes. Unfortunately for us here, we don't see too many more of that particular family. The Luries or Turako family are absolutely beautiful. They're some of the most beautiful birds that we get in South Africa. And here we only get one other species called the purple-crested Turako, and I'm going to show you what it looks like now because it is probably one of the more beautiful birds that we actually get here. So this is the family of Turako, which occurs down in the south of South Africa from the sort of Knysna region. So that's where that one goes. And then you've got Schlouws and Livingstons, which are further north up towards Vic Falls and areas like that. Then you come down a little bit, and you've got our grey go-away bird here on the right. You can see little drab in comparison to the rest of the family, not quite as brightly coloured. And then, actually funny enough, this Ross's Turako that you see here, there's been a record of one of these in southern Africa yesterday or the day before, I think it is. And it is a very, very rare bird. It's not supposed to really occur, and I think at the moment it would be the 4th record of it in the sub-region. So that's a big bird that's arrived out of nowhere in Botswana. And then this is the one that I was saying that we do get here as well, which is the purple-crested Turako. Beautiful deep red wings and then bits of purple and blue and greens throughout. And this is the area where you will find this bird. Here in the Mulawati you find them flying around fairly regularly, so that's another one of our special birds to look out for from time to time. So I often say, and I remember one of my trackers used to say that the grey go-away bird unfortunately was hit with the ugly stick in the family, which I don't know if it's necessarily true. Their coloration is perfect for the environment that they spend time, because they are out in the savannah areas and their grey coloration blends a lot better than a bright green or bright purple bird. But he used to say that it is amazing. He was always on about that the grey go-away bird was nowhere near as pretty as the others. You can see this is often what happens after a meal. Is a leopard will spend its time having a little bit of a groom, get rid of any bits that have gotten onto the paws or onto the face and whisker area when you've been crunching through bits of shell and sinew. This is what happens. Gee, if you're wondering if I think Thamba gets bored or lonely, yes I do. I think he does get bored. You often see him looking at everything, wondering what's going on and trying to see things and sort of investigate. So I think he does get a little bit bored. Remember, he doesn't have a litter mate like Shungile and Hosana used to have, so when they were left on their own, they used to play around with each other and go up in trees and all kinds of other things, and he doesn't have that option. But at the end of the day, it's also the life that he's going to lead. As he gets older, so he's going to become a loner, he's going to be an independent individual, and he's not going to spend time around leopards too often. So even though it seems as though he does get bored now while he's youthful, it's just a phase. He will grow out of it, and eventually he's going to be a solitary male leopard, much like any of the other leopards out here. So while it's kind of feel sorry for him now, because you can see there's this kind of desire in his eyes to play and to move around, at some point in life he is going to have to go on his own, so don't have to feel too sorry for him. Now I'm going to try and see if I can reposition ourselves slightly so that we can see Thamba a little bit better, because where we are right now is not fantastic. And so while we do that, I believe Taylor has a beautiful view of the golden sun setting with our golden boy, the Birmingham male in Suku. Well, Taylor, we know this morning full well that male lions do interact a little bit with their male cubs, because a male Styx cub went and lay right next to Nsuku, and he didn't really even bat an eyelid. He wasn't too phased by the fact that Nsuku was there, so most certainly sometimes they will. I've seen down in the south there was a male called the K&P male, and I saw him with cubs all around him, jumping on him, all over his mane, even the male ones. And then I've seen even older lions than that. So the Southern Pride, then there was males there, and the Hilda's Rock males, they used to also not be too phased about it. So it does happen from time to time that you will find male lions interacting with their cubs, but when they start to become sub-adult, so when they get crossover from that sort of 1.5 to 2 years, then you find that it becomes a much colder relationship between the dominant male, and they'll see those cubs a lot more as a threat than as a cub of their own. So once they cross that sort of threshold and a bit of mane starts to grow, then you find no longer do they interact too much with their cubs. It's not to say that they won't, though, because there was a situation in Kenya, and I can't remember the name of the coalition. Are you up again? Oh, big stretch. No, I'm going to curl up into a ball. It's getting cold now. Yes, so you cold, little one. Yes, there we go. I'm not enjoying this weather, so he's curling up into a ball, much like in Suku. There was a coalition in Kenya that was a male with his sons, I believe, that formed a coalition. So I think it does happen every now and then with bigger animals. I certainly haven't witnessed it myself with two big male lions, that is maybe a dad and a son stay together, but I have heard reports of it happening in other places. So they will interact with their cubs. I wonder if it won't fly away, but should we try, Seb? Yeah. It's just behind Seb here, so... Well, I think so, Taylor. I think in this horrible wind that we've got blowing this afternoon, there's nothing better than to catnap. And I was just saying to Seb now, I was thinking about moving on, but I so would like to see if Thandi arrives this afternoon. It would just be such a nice wrap-up to, you know, the last 4 drives that we spent with Thamba. It would be just so great if we saw that return of Thandi and them interacting and then moving off and out of this area. It would just be such a nice way, like I say, to wrap up our little story of Thamba over the last few days. So hopefully runners' tracks come towards the central part of the property and then they lose them. Now that gives me an idea that maybe, just maybe, Tingana and Thandi might be together, because I had tracks for a female leopard going up Philemon's dip this morning on the way home, going towards Quarantine, and Tingana's tracks theoretically were heading in the same direction, and I wonder if those two didn't meet up again and might potentially be together during today. So it'll be, time will tell. I'm sure if one of them is around, they will show up on the dam cam at some point. Both of them seem to like making guest appearances at the dam cam, so maybe one of them will show up. But for now, Thamba, he's just fast asleep and really is not too interested in anything that's going on. I think he's cold more than anything else. He was active while the sun was up, but now the sun's gone down, he's curled up into a tight ball. Lisa, you ask, slowly but surely diminishing and becoming less and less, and you're entering in a situation where soon he's going to be pushed out on his own, unfortunately. So these time spans between mom coming back is quite long nowadays. She doesn't obviously have to suckle him, so as long as he's well fed, like he is, she can go 3-4 days without coming back and he'll be just fine. So it's okay for him. He's a big boy. He'll be able to handle himself. I'm sure he just wants mom to come back because it's a meal at the end of the day, and like we were saying earlier, probably craves a little bit of company. Remember that he's been with mom for a year and that's what he knows, so he's not sure when mom isn't around. Interestingly enough, though, I can hear oxpeckers calling, which potentially means that there is a prey animal that is moving in this direction. You can hear the oxpeckers flying all around us now all of a sudden, and they've just started, so maybe something like impalas or nyala or kudu is moving towards where we are now, and also to seek shelter from this wind, and could then mean that Thamba might pick his head up and have a little look around. But this has certainly been the most sleepy we've had him over the course of the last 4 drives. He's been a lot busier than this for the last 4, so I suppose he's deserved his rest. He's certainly entertained many a person as we've followed him around, so I'm hoping that it will continue, that he'll stay around though, even if mom does come back. Leslie, you say, wow, lion and now leopard, bingo. Well, Leslie, we've had the most incredible run this week. We've had really been spoilt. In fact, not even this week. In the last 3 weeks, I would say. We find that we've had lots and lots of sightings of cats, and we've had a few drives where we've had both lion and leopard on Djuma, which has really been quite something. So we've definitely been very, very spoilt, and I'm super excited that the lion stuck around and that Taylor got such a big welcome back to work. It's such a nice thing when you get back from a leave and you get into the bush and it's not quiet and you get just straight into it and you get amazing sightings. It certainly does help. So I'm super glad for Taylor, and I hope that it continues on this trend for her and that she also gets crazy sightings, because myself and Sebastian have been very spoiled this week, and we certainly are very thankful that we've been able to see what we've seen. Yeah. That's for sure. So it's just hopefully going to carry on for much longer. We've got this, we've got this cold front coming in, and I'm hoping that doesn't mean that they're all going to go into hiding like they are right now in the thick bush and curled up. Now, while we sort of see if these oxpeckers are going to reveal a prey item that could potentially get Thamba going, let's go back across to Taylor and the beautiful Nsuku and see how he's doing and whether or not he's imitating Thamba's same curled position. Well, you can see Tingana, he's looking up into this big jackalberry tree, and I think he's sniffed out that there's something around here as well. And maybe it's the carcass that the hyenas stole the other day. You can see he's staring up into it, and he's right next to the car at the moment. He's literally sitting right next to us, and he is so much bigger than Thamba. Now that we get to see him up close, he really is a much bigger individual, and Thamba's got a bit of growing to do before he's going to be able to compete with the likes of that. But there, look, you see how he's staring up? Sinak, you're wondering how high a leopard can jump? And so you'll find with a leopard, I've seen them jump in terms of height, in feet, I would say probably close to maybe 18 foot into the air. So quite high is the answer. They're very agile. They've got huge amounts of power in their shoulders and in their sort of back legs, particularly. I think he's certainly looking out for where Thamba went. I'm hoping that though he's going to just leave it and run off. I don't know where Thamba is. The last time I saw him was just on top here, but he was moving around and kind of trying to trot off a little bit, and certainly Tingana is still sniffing and still trying to see where this leopard is, and there will be lots of scent here because of the amount that Thamba has spent in this area. Beck, you're saying, did I inform Tingana of our drive time change because he's far too early? Yes, I agree. I think he's obviously missed what's been supposed to be happening. So our last minute leopard has actually not shown up last minute for a change, which is a nice change. There he goes. You see he's heading straight up to where Thamba ran off just now. And look how his nose is down. He's sniffing. He's trying to work out what's going on. I think because there's probably so much scent here, he's probably thinking that there is some sort of carcass in this area, and that's why he's looking so much and checking around, trying to see what's going on. But look at the thickness of Tingana's neck. When you see him, you realize that Thamba's got a lot of growing to do and a long way to go before he's going to become a massive individual like Tingana, and he certainly is not going to be able to compete for a territory anytime soon when you've got boys this size around. Look at that. Oh, isn't that amazing? And our luck continues. I don't even know how much luckier we can get. I think the only thing is if we get something like a pangolin or an aardvark, but certainly it's been as good as we could possibly hope for the last little bit. Sorry Seb, it's a bit of a rough bump coming down. Now it looks like potentially Tingana is going to walk a little bit further south, which is good news. I'm hoping that he does keep going south and allows little Thamba a break to get away, and we don't have to worry about him then too much. Poor Thamba, I've had lots of stress about him today between the Styx Pride and Tingana. It's tough being a young male leopard and being a safari guide, because you get so invested in these things that it's like a roller coaster of emotion, and I'm sure for a lot of you as well, it's the same. Now look, he's looking up. Have you spotted Thamba on top there? No, he's still ambling now. Now the next thing is if Tingana keeps walking this way,
in all likelihood he's going to walk straight into Nsuku now, because if he goes southwards, that's where we're heading. We're heading straight towards Twin Dams. He might cross over the line. We might get not only this leopard walking into another leopard, but walking into a male lion as well, which is just absolute bizarre. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens from here. He certainly looks as though he's now given up on looking for Thamba. He's sniffing around, but he's not really as intent and as focused as he was just now. I think he thought maybe he got a chance. You see, look, he smelt where Thamba ran up the hill. Look there, it's now picked up the scent. That's exactly where the tracks are for Thamba running. You can see just in front of him, so he's now picked up, okay, there's another leopard here. This leopard, now I'm able to work out who the leopard is. I'm pretty sure he's smelt that before. Now, unfortunately, he doesn't seem to be climbing on board. Tingana around and see what he does. Let's go back to Taylor and see where she is.